what was your thought process just in trading back? Did you try to move up at any point?
Did not try to move up. We did not. And we didn't have any calls of people saying, do you want? I think most people seem to be sticking around our area. So, no, we were checking the whole night, around our area and back, and we were just, like every year, following the board and where we think the value is. Obviously, we came into this draft without a 3, and we were able to, get ourselves back into the 3rd and feel like there'll be some value there. And at this point now, we're back to getting 3 picks in the top 95. It works similar to how I had to do the Rasul trade. I think that would have been pick 91. We're at 95. And so, we're excited about tomorrow. And instead of just having the 1 pick, now we got 3.
Brandon, was there any hesitancy in doing a deal with Kansas City? I mean, they're defending Super Bowl champions, your rivals, really, the team that you're trying to get past. Was there any hesitancy in conceivably maybe helping them in some way?
No, because they can move around. If we don't trade with them, someone else can to get whatever player they're targeting. To me, it's got to make sense for us, and we're following our board. And we could have taken leaps back, like teams much further than that. We didn't want to go crazy far, and honestly thought we would pick at 32. But then talked to my buddy Dan and gave us a chance to move up, I think 59 slots, from a 6 to a 5. And so now we've got a 3, we got the 2 2s, a 3, a 4, and 4 5s. And I think that gives us some chance to fill some roles or use ammo to move around again, depending on how the board falls.
Any assurance from them as to who they were going to pick before you agreed to make that move?
Kansas City? No.
Because
Like I said, even if we could have traded with someone else, Jay, and they take somebody, like we had other opportunities, the best deal, I would say that was the best deal for us. Take the team out of it. That was the best deal that we thought that fit what we wanted to do. And the way you have to look at it, I mean, we talked to teams in our division about the trade. You know what I'm saying? It's really, to me, what's the best deal for the Bills? If we don't do a deal, in this case with Kansas City, they can go do a deal with the next team. That
they would get whoever they wanted anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't want that receiver there, they were going to get him at 32 probably anywhere.
Yeah, they're going to – or they trade up. We were pick 28. Maybe they trade up to pick 29 or 30, whatever, if they were. And they were probably calling in front of us too. I don't know. We didn't ask them that.
Did you have a sense, though, that they wanted Worthy or not?
Did I have a sense? No, not. I mean, I could see him taking a receiver, but you don't truly know. I mean, no one there said, "Hey, we'll take this player or whatever." I think you would do that maybe if you're moving 1 pick back or something like that. Then maybe you'd say, if you got 2 guys and you want to make sure you get who you picking or something like that. But where they were moving from, I don't think it mattered to us who they were picking.
Brandon, how did the 5th-year option matter to you or not? Obviously, being at 32 and 33, you have it, you don't.
Yeah, I think we were just looking at it as moving up 59 slots in the draft, giving us just more ammo to move around tomorrow, or if the board is falling well for us, where we think there's a lot of guys available on day 3, then maybe we even stay. So I just looked at it as value, what we could get for going back 1, and we'll get a lot of calls for this pick tomorrow. At 33, our phone's already ringing. So, we'll see what happens with that.
Did Thomas getting picked by Jacksonville, did that alter? I mean, if he's there at 28, do you think you would have pulled the trigger? And him getting picked by Jacksonville, did that change your strategy after after that?
Yeah, I mean, we were following our board, without telling you specifically. There were some players that we were following, And when they came off, we decided to see if there was good value to move back. Again, we had opportunities to move into the 40s, into the 50s, and that was obviously too far. We had some good opportunities. Again, the deal that we talked to no less than 6 or 7 teams. It may be more, Sal, but we didn't want to make a giant leap at that point. We wanted to kind of see how it fell and not go way into the second round. But we just, we felt what we were going to be able to getting us back into the third round for moving back, whatever that was, 4 slots, that it made too much sense.
You talked about value. At what point did you not have any more first-round grades on your board? Can you give us insight into that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. We were following the board and the value. I don't want to knock any player. There's a lot of good players there. We just, again, if as you're following your board, you're deciding whether you're gonna, listen. If I was never gonna rule out moving up some, I wasn't prepared to give up our second, because then we'd have. If we had to go far enough to do that, now you're picking at whatever pick that was in the first, and you're going all the way to whatever it was, 128 or something like that. We think there was, good value coming up tomorrow, and so we just wanted at least one extra pick there, and again, we added some ammo to move back one. Now we have 4 5s that we can either take or use depending on. Again, we'll follow the board. We put a lot of time and effort into the board, and we think it's fallen pretty similar to kind of how we thought. You peg what team needs, and you peg what players value. Maybe a different team took a different player, but compared to how we did the mocks and stuff like that. But it's fallen. We're picking at 28, and we didn't have. We weren't near 28 first-round grades, so going in, there's not necessarily a great chance that you're going to, pick there. And, again, last year we had Dalton Kincaid in the first. We were nervous, we'd run out, so I moved up whatever it was, 2 slots, I believe, to get him. So we put a lot of time on the board, and one of the things we said was, if there's an opportunity to get back into the third, we do believe there'll be some value, and or at least the value of that pick. Again, if we want to, move around.
Picked up some good draft capital, tonight. Is there a possibility that you stay at 33, make that selection, then possibly jump back in the second round with all the draft capital that you picked up?
Well, we have 2 in the second right now, so we'll have 33 and 60. Are you saying take another pick, get back into, make a third? Is that what you're saying?
Back in. Maybe try to go after 4 picks in the top 100 instead of being just content.
Oh, big 3. We'll see how the board's falling, Mookie. It's hard for me to predict right now, how many of our guys that we have in the second. But yeah, if we have guys that have second round grades and we're well in the third, and we want to go back up there and get them, we'll do our best to do that. But I think it's too early to tell. I think what today did was give us some ammo to move around, and we're hoping to come away with, some players that will help us either as starters or key reserves.
Do you have more players with second-round grades than you did with first-round grades?
Yeah.
Brandon, when we talked to you at the owners' meetings, you talked about not getting that third-round comp pick. That kind of hurt you guys, and what your plans were. And then you just said, you gave up your second, you'd have to wait so long. How much did you go into tonight thinking, do I really like to be able to get that third round back if I can, knowing there's not a lot of first round, maybe this is something I should look at to try and move back?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely wanted to see how it fell. You never know. Weird things happen every year, so there wasn't a preconceived, we're going to do this. But I think, as you got closer to our pick, we just decided if there was the right opportunity. At that time tonight, again, when I made the trade with Kansas City, I was preparing to pick. But then talked to Dan and decided that made sense for us, and it puts us on pole position for tomorrow. And we'll see. We've had some calls. I think we'll get more calls. And if it makes too much sense to move back again and pick up something else, we would do that. We also think there's, a couple good players to choose from.
When did those discussions start? Right around, was it right before you were on the clock? Was it a little
There
early?
was, teams are reaching out, 3-4 picks. Brian Gaine was working with them, kind of feeding me where we were. And then when we got on the clock, we decided we liked their deal. It ran down a little bit. We were having conversations with a couple teams, and we got their deal to where we thought it made sense.
Brandon, when you talk about making a trade that's good for the team, do you bake into that equation what you might be doing to help another team that's a rival? You talked about talking with division teams, and was that different when you dealt with the Chiefs with this trade tonight?
I think what you're asking, Thad, is kind of what I was telling Jay earlier, is that let's just say we didn't want, hey, we're not going to trade with Kansas City. That's the Chiefs, Super Bowl champs, yada, yada, yada. If we take a player, it doesn't mean that they're not going to go up with whoever was behind us. I think Dallas maybe because they had traded with Detroit. So you got no guarantee. You're not necessarily preventing them from getting the player they want. It's more where is your value at? Where do you want your picks? And what's the best move for the Bills? Because I'm sure they're not just calling Buffalo. I'm sure they were probably calling, and I would assume, in front of us. And if we didn't do the deal, let's just say there's 1,000 times you make a pick where there's people that want your pick, and you just make the selection. You say, hey, we're going to stay here and pick. If we had stayed there and picked, then if they wanted that player, they're probably also having people work the phones at the next couple picks to see if they can move up. So I don't think us picking necessarily is going to prevent, in this case, Kansas City or a team. And that's why I said, you don't always do business in division, or in this case, but you can, even if, in this case, like we had conversations with teams in our division because it could have made sense for us.
The second trade you made is pretty easy to explain, one spot for 59.
Yeah.
Is there a way to quantify, maybe in layman's terms, what the Kansas City trade meant to you in terms of value? I know that we can look at the numbers and crunch them, but is there a kind of a distilled way of how you look at the value that you got there?
Yeah, you traded up, I don't remember the number of spots, but you're what's that?
5 spots.
No, what we gave them our late fourth, maybe 133, was that the number? And we moved up.
133, 248.
Yeah, so we moved up to, we moved up in the seventh, which was an added, but the main thing I was focused on is the value of moving up from 133 to 95. So, we moved up 38 spots there in the draft, which is over a round, and I think it gives us a better chance to get a player before it gets too far cleaned out to go back 4 spots.
And knowing how much you like making moves and have a track record of moving up, how difficult was it to stay off the phone and not make that move that you've been known to make?
Yeah, I would say Vegas lost today on me because if they pay attention to us, which I'm sure they do, they probably would peg us to move up. I know just hearing around here, people fill me in. People were saying we were trying aggressively to make a move into the top 10. Like no team ever called me saying, hey, we want to move back there and anything like that. So, and I'm not calling up there, a day ahead or whatever. That was all just smoke, to be clear. But listen, me, if there was certain players that fell, we would have gone up. I did not want to give up our 2 though. it would have had to just been something that just made way too much sense for me to give up that 2, because it would have been really hard for us from the force to get up that far. It's just the value of those picks start dropping dramatically.
Do you anticipate, Brandon, any veterans get moved tomorrow? Do you notice that on day 2, maybe there's more kind of trades like that as opposed to day 1 where we didn't really see anything like that?
You talking about around the league? I think you could see that. You know, maybe even sometimes you see it on day 3. Listen, I'm a team. It's been 3 rounds. I really wanted a running back. I know Howie did that for Swift from Detroit. Swap some picks or something like that. Like, I do think there are some opportunities. Sometimes you can do that. A guy that's on an expiring contract, or maybe another team drafted a player at that position and they would like to move that guy into a starting role and take some money off the books. So I don't know if I would say it's, where the likelihood is, but I think you could see that probably more on Saturday than maybe tomorrow, but, maybe tomorrow.
How many times did you rehearse this scenario here where you're picking in the top of the second round? You're on the clock. It's being after dark for real tonight. I'm quite sure you're not going to get any sleep in reference to what you guys start off with. But how many times did y'all vision yourself picking at 33?
I really didn't. Mookie, I had planned all along to not make a huge jump back, but it made sense to go ahead and go one back, get the pole position tomorrow, and we knew no matter who Carolina was going to take, that we still felt there was some good value on the board at 33, which is the first one tomorrow. And so it made sense to do that. But, again, I couldn't have told you 30 minutes before we moved back that we were definitely, moving back. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yep.